And at some point I have to give tough love, right? I guess I'm just getting too old. I'm giving tough love. I go,
sure.
I think you actually have a chance. Here's what I'm going to tell you though. If you don't give a shit about you, I don't either. My job is not to drag you across the finish line. If you give a shit about you and you advocate for you, I will cheerlead and help you all you can. But you've got to care first. You got to care more than anybody else in this whole equation on the planet, because you're the only one that's going to wake up that cares about your life. Come on, man. And if you don't care, you're like, well, I don't know if I want to really. Then it's like, I'm not helping that.
This is the Inkpulp Podcast.
Mattteo was asking me earlier, have you prepared questions for Todd? And I go, like, holy shit, I'm supposed to prepare questions for Todd? I thought we were just going to bring them on and like...
If you've done other interviewers, I filibuster anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm like a good politician. If you ask me about the hospital that I built, that I can eventually get you to lower taxes, like in 3 sentences.
How are you able to make time for this show, considering all the things that you're doing right now? And you're back into comics, which is the mind-blowing part of it. Yeah,
so I doing shows like this is just part of the plan, right? I mean, you have to come up with creative ideas. You have to implement creative ideas, and then I was never a fan of the movie Field of Dreams, because I thought it was a distortion, which was build it and they will come. I completely deny that. I think you need to build it, find where people are, get in their way, and make them run over you. Right. So if you can have all the great ideas you want, you can have all the great items you want. If nobody knows you exist and or your product exists, you're nowhere, right? So I've seen it work. I've seen it actually work the other way. Great advertising and bad product, and it still sells a lot, right? So I don't know. This is using that mentality. I get a little agitated at times, although I try to hide it. When creative people who want to break into the business sort of go, hey, I did some samples and I didn't really get a job, but I just want to know how you get in. And it's like, you fucking have to get out of your house, go and knock on every door. That's it.
Right,
like
exactly.
You think here, because here's the thing that I don't think at times people understand. We live on a planet of 8.1 billion people, I believe is the population. The number of people who got up this morning and said, my goal today is to make Todd McFarlane's life better is one. Me. Right. Not even my wife.
I was about to say the same thing. Probably not even your wife.
Definitely not. Definitely not that.
I'm not saying later in the day she might not, but the first thing she has to do is take care of herself. Right? I'm going to get up. I'm going to get my cup of coffee. I'm going to get right in my mind. I'm going to make sure the kids are ready for school. I'm going to do all these things. By the way, right? But
sorry to interrupt, Todd, but this is the perfect moment for it, because my girlfriend just texted me that she forgot the keys in the house. So she's outside waiting. So she's already boycotting my podcast. So just to make you understand that, it's perfect what you said, because this is what happens. This is what's happening right now. Like in this moment, she literally forgot her keys. So I got to leave for 1 second and open the door for her, because she's trapped outside the house. Sorry guys, I got to leave for 1 second.
Run, Mattteo, run.
So I'll add the second piece to it then. Again, number one, I don't expect any human being, any company, anybody to basically do me favors, right? My job is to go and ask for favors, right? So thank you, gentlemen, for giving me time today. Number two, and I've said it before, my life is predicated upon one single commercial that I used to watch as a child. And I used to watch TV in the morning before I went to school, and when I came home, I used to watch cartoons way too much. But but there was a commercial that came on at least a dozen times a day. And it just seared me as a child. And it was this cool guy with this flat hat. He was like this. And he would look at me about 12 times a day and he would say, only you can prevent forest fires. Now, with the 7-year-old Todd thought at the beginning, he was talking about forest fires. And by the time I got to 8, I went, he's not talking smoke. He's not talking about forest fires. He's talking about me and my life. Basically, Todd, this is on you. And if you want things in life, then this is your problem, not anybody else's problem. Right. So it's go time, right? It's go time. I am, if I was to rank all my peers and artistically, I would put me in the middle of the pack. In all honesty, and I'm not saying that humbly, I'm saying that because I know the talent that's out there. It is staggering, the talent that's out there. So I think it's the highest it's ever been in my life. I'm at the middle of the pack. And yet I get all this cred and I get all this other stuff for being in the middle of the pack. And I think it's the second part of that equation. It's skill is half of it. And then I've said it over and over and over. The hustle is the other half. And the hustle is just being dogged with if you want something. And I'm like a dog. I'm like a dog in a bone. I just don't let go. To the point of almost being, I know people use nice words like, oh, you're determined and you have, all these other, there's a fine line between being determined and being delusional. And I've crossed over on both sides, right? But, there's never a day that I can't accomplish what it is that we want to do. And then I just see if we can. I don't know. So.
But this has been sort of like persistent in your sort of like DNA, right? Throughout the history from whenever, like, I don't know where you picked that up from, but it seems to come from it.
I'm going to tell you where I picked it up. The moment I came out of my mom's womb, it's in, you said it.
You were determined to get the hell out of there is what you're saying.
What I'm saying is we all have personalities and our personalities don't really alter in dramatic fashions unless you go to a doctor and they say, hey, you know what, if you keep drinking and smoking, you're going to die. I mean, sometimes something like that or some family member, if something happens, you'll do it. But for the most part, like if you ask my mom, like how far back is Todd was like that? She would say, when was Todd not like that? I bet she doesn't have a day where Todd wasn't manic. So what I've discovered as I've gotten older, and it used to frustrate me, but now I go, oh, I get it, is that there's just personalities. And I have to factor in personality. So I can get on a stage and give you the blueprint of how I think you can become an entrepreneur. But if you don't have a personality for risk, if you're afraid of well, what if people don't like it, or what if I fail? If you have all that, like then you can't. Like, I can boil it down to one question. And I've done it before with being an entrepreneur. Here's my simple one question: if you have never been the first one on a dance floor, you might not have the personality. Because if the person who's the first one on the floor, and it doesn't give a fuck about anybody else in the room. Right? They're there. I've been the first one many times. I get up, I go, honey, my wife, you want to go dancing? That's the goal. The goal is we're going dancing. That's it. Don't waver from the goal. Right. And then you get to the bar and you get there, 9 o'clock comes and they start playing and nobody wants to dance. We dance. Why? Because that's the goal. The goal isn't to worry about, and I don't care if they think I'm the best or the worst dancer, because that's not the goal. I will not empower strangers to have any influence upon my goal. My goal was to dance with my wife, period. If nobody in that room wants to dance for the whole night, I don't care. I don't care. My wife and I are going to attain our goal. Done. But that's a personality that I don't care about the people in the room. I'm not going to give them power to distract me from what it is that I'm doing. I'll show you how I apply this. And I'm currently filibustering, but I'm going to tell you how I apply this. When I go on Instagram and I put up a cover, right?
Yeah.
Just so you know, I don't read any comments. So this may be horrifying to people. I don't read any comments.
No, trust me.
If you dislike that cover, right, if you dislike my cover, don't care. Yeah. Conversely, if you love my cover, don't care. I didn't put my cover up on the internet for approval. I'm not seeking anybody's approval. I'm saying factually, this is the cover for the next issue, period. If you love it, I'm not changing the line. If you hate it, I'm not changing the line. That's the cover.
Yeah.
I will allow you as a person and an individual, you can do whatever you want to do with that. But if you're interested in this book, that's the cover. And if you're not, don't buy that cover. That's it. Yeah. All the rest of it is of no interest to me. I am disinterested in why you like my work or why you dislike my work. Because I'm doing my work regardless. I already know what I got to do tomorrow for my deadline. And I don't predicate it upon the likes or the dislikes of people around me. I just put my head down. I create and I go, here's my shit. You guys like it? And luckily, lots of people have, or at least enough people have liked it for 30, 40 years and I've had a career. Good. That's it. Yeah. I don't need 8.1 billion. I need enough to keep me in business. And I've been in business for 2 years. That's it. All the rest of the people, I'm okay. I'm okay with, because I got enough to keep me in business. Good, done.
Yeah, I suspect that comes from a space of like not necessarily building the foundations of your career based on that unlike button. You know what I mean? Like you went in there and it coupled very well with your personality, which is I just got to get the work done. It exists when it exists and I got to move on to the next thing. There's a new component in a generation in which, hey, validation needs to come from a level of social media sort of acceptance. And you're like, I didn't build my career that way. I've built it this very specific way. And it's nice that you like it, or even like to your side, it's very factual. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm just saying I'm putting this out. It exists.
Eric, I don't have power over it. This is the piece. Right. You've seen grunge punk bands do an album. It sells 5,000 and then their next one sells 1 million and people call them sellouts. They don't, all they did was music for both of them. They don't control whether people buy or like it. We just create. All the power we have is to create what's in our brain and try to put it down on paper. And that's it. And it's because if I could get 1 million people to like it, why wouldn't I get 10 million people? Right?
That's right. If that was in your control is what you're saying, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a great place to
here's
be.
What I do have control.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Manny.
Oh, okay.
No, go, Mattteo.
I was agreeing with you. Like, it's a great place to be when you finally realize that you don't have control over basically anything. It's a great realization. And I think that, going back to what Eric was saying, like, especially the generations now, they're so used to have control about everything with, the technology, the point at which the technology has arrived now. So I think it's going to be something that the new generations are going to be struggling with, is not having control. And that's why they care so much about telling you, hey, I don't like what you did there, and they're so precious about that opinion. And my answer to that is exactly what you're saying earlier, which is like, you have speaking of, comic books, you have an amazing superpower. Just don't buy the fucking book. Or if I'm making, this podcast and you're not liking it, with a click, with this finger, you just close the tab or you skip to another video, and I won't be in your life anymore. So just keep going straight to your whatever you were doing. I'm gonna disappear from your life.
Mattteo, there's a saying that goes to that: only you can prevent forest fires. Right? If you don't like the show, don't buy it. If you don't, my one sentence for almost 40 years religiously to any critic, especially if they're in front of me, is I gently pat them on the shoulder and I say the exact same sentence. You should spend your time and your money on things you enjoy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I can't do that. I can't do that for you.
Yeah.
That's it.
There isn't any other honest truth.
Go buy stuff. Right. The piece that is interesting to me because the human species is really just such entertainment to me, is that you don't like something, so you're going to spend time talking about what you don't like. And I've said to people before, I fucking don't like Brussels sprouts, but I have never gone to BrusselsSprouts.com and criticized them for
Yeah.
I just don't eat Brussels sprouts. Done. Right? It's a weird concept that people want to tell you, and that's time on something you don't like. Wow.
Yeah. Also, there's this new thing that now even being negative about something can be monetized. So there's actually like YouTube channel of people criticizing other people, and they get rich with them if they're trolling enough and in a good way. It's it's fucking incredible. Yeah. So I kind of understand like the confusion that might be for the next generations. Yeah.
I think I have a pretty good personality. I've said before, I could be a cult leader. Shit, I've got it down pat. I can just sit there and go, what do I got to do?
You're already a cult leader, Todd.
Segment, I just got to say this. I don't have to believe it. I just have to say it. They'll give me way more. I could do it. If I wanted to, just as an experiment, I could go, shit, I could get a bunch of people follow me and drink my Kool-Aid too. This is easy. Let me give you math. Let me give you another piece of math that I knew a long time ago, but is even more true today because you can actually delineate it. That being fearless really is sort of part of it. But again, that's part of the personality. And I had a brother a year older, so I was completely competitive my entire life with my DNA. But let's just do some real quick math because I did this when I was at San Diego for the crowd, like just on social, just so we know. I've got at any given time 2 million people are paying attention to what I'm doing. Okay, if you take 2 million people and you divide it by 8.1 billion people and you get that number, right? That number is a fraction. And if you round it up to the nearest whole number, numbers that most people can understand, the number that it's closest to is 0.
Sure.
It's 0 because the fraction is so small. So stay with me now for 10 seconds. Here's why that matters. If I put up a cover and all 2 million people don't like it, I do the math and I'm a 0. And if the next day I put something up and all 2 million love it, and I do the math, I am a 0. On my best day and my worst day, I am a 0. I know I don't matter. And here's why that's important. Because once you understand you don't matter, you can be fearless. You don't have to worry because no matter what you do does not matter. So you might as well do what pleases me. And that's it. Yeah. So I go, I'm going to do what puts a smile on my face, what I enjoy, and I'm going to have a good life. Because either way, it doesn't matter. So I might as well at least enjoy my own personal life. That's the only person I get to control. That's it.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
In my opinion, until somebody adopts the sort of mental state that you are talking about right now, it's the reason why it's so relevant to go and look into BrusselsSprouts.com and tell them how much they hate it. The reason why it's so important is because they need that validation that this thing that they believe in can also be believed in by a gazillion other people, which is not where you're coming from. You're saying, I only need to believe in me, right? And every other validation equals out to 0 anyway. That doesn't matter in my day today. I think there's a lot of people out there who don't exist in that space. Number one, personality wise, that they didn't have it from birth, right? Or number two, they just haven't learned how to do it yet. They have to go through the painful sort of like, personal birthing at age 32. That they can't fucking, they have to learn not to care so much. Mattteo has said this multiple times in the past. He said like, what makes these guys think that they matter? What makes these guys think that they're important?
Let me add a piece to it. I don't care if they want to do that. If you took all the interviews I've ever done in my career and you reread all of them, 98% of what I'm talking about is me.
Yeah.
Why do you do this, Todd? Why do you like that, Todd? Why do you not like that, Todd? Why did you do that, Todd? And I can talk to you all day long about me. You want to ask me a question why Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee did something? My answer is go ask Rob and Jim. Sure. I will not postate an opinion for somebody else because I don't know why they did it, right? Sure. I only know why I do it, right? So here's why I do what I do. I'm not even advocating for anybody to copy or repeat what I'm doing. I'm not even saying that. Sure. I'm just saying, here's what I did. Here's why I do it. You can take that good, bad, or indifferent. You can say, oh, Todd's either a genius or an egotistical maniac. I don't care either way because I'm telling you the truth of what's in my head. And that's it. Yeah. And if somebody wants to take another path that isn't mine, I don't care. I don't get hooked up on anybody else either. The only time I get hooked up on it is they're doing something that's criminal and it's interfering with somebody else's life and or they're trying to shove something down my throat. Then it's like, whoa, dude, I'm not trying to shove anything down your throat. So why don't you just take a step back? I'm just telling you why I'm not religious. You can tell me why you're religious. We can have that debate. But I'm not telling you you shouldn't be religious. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you why I personally am not. I'm not even saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying it gets me through my day. Done. You get through your day. Done. That's cool. We had a nice conversation. Let's move on. Right. So
do you pull same sort of personality collaborators in the stuff that you do? Is that something that you sort of like people with your sort of outlook, people with your sort of like personal interest? Are they drawn to you? Because I feel like in order to exist in your orbit, you kind of have to have similar attitudes. No,
I need good talent, period. Out. Period. I don't care. Look, I hate the fucking New York Yankees. If you can draw and you like the New York Yankees, I'll hire you.
Yeah. Right.
I'm easy. I'm really simplistic in what I don't care what your age, sex, what your religion, politics view, and even what your favorite sports team are or where you live in the world. Can you get the work done at a level that is to my personal standards? That's it. You can hit that button. Everything else is white noise. Noise. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That's amazing.
Todd, can you talk about your thoughts on failure? Is it an important tool on a road to success?
You know what? I'm going to guess the personalities come in again because everybody takes failure differently. Some people take failure to heart, and I have people in my family that are like that. And then others take it that have a little bit more of my personalities of like when you fail, it's an embarrassment personally to me, right? So you just go, I don't want to feel that again. So what do I got to do to get over that hurdle, right? To do it. I played sports at a very high level. And so there's sort of a saying that you'll only sort of continue to improve and want to change the results if it was embarrassing enough for you to want to, right? So in other words, if you want, I'm a baseball player. So if you went 0 for 3 and you struck out 3 times in front of your mom and dad and your girlfriend and your friends, whatever, and at the end of the day, you're okay with that, you're probably not going to take extra batting practice the next day. But at the end of it, if you want, oh my God, not only did I embarrass myself, but I embarrassed myself in front of my family and my friends. And then you go home and they go, hey, it's dinner. And you go, no, I'm going to the gym and I'm getting my cuts because I don't want to feel what I just felt today again. Right. You will try and do something about it. So it's a personal decision on where we can tolerate failure and it's okay, and where we can't. So some people can say, oh, I sent in my samples. I got rejected 3 times and I'm okay. I'm going to go get another job. That's enough. And others like me just go, no, I'm going to send hundreds and hundreds to the point of being delusional of going, I'm going to get in someday. I'm going to get in and there's nobody going to stop me. And at some point you do have to have some talent to go with it. I can't say, I'm going to be an opera singer and just keep going. At some point, they're going to go, Todd, you can't sing opera, right? I mean, it's just a reality. You have to sort of come to that reality. But I don't know. Here's the piece that I want to head rub sometimes, is I said before to people, I can be in a room with 6 other artists. There's 7 of us. I am the worst of the 7. I am the worst. Or creative. I'm the worst of the 7 creative. And somebody walks in and says they got a big job. And I can walk out with the job. And you know how I get the job? Because the other 6 didn't raise their hand. Well, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll do it. I'll do it. I can do it. Yeah, shit, I'm great. I'm great. I'll take it. Advocate. I advocate for myself all the time. And if nobody else, the guys that are better, the gals that are better than me don't raise their hand, I get to cut the line. And this is the thing.
You still do that to this day. You still do the hand raising to this day and advocating. I'm great. I can do it. I'm
Donkey in the Shrek movie. Who wants to go on the Shrek movie? I'll go. Anybody else? You remember the scene? Anybody else? He didn't want Donkey.
Right.
Donkey was the only one that said, I'll go. So Donkey gets to go on the adventure. And who knows what happens when you go on the adventure. So that's it. But I've also had young people, middle, all the way up to like 35, 40, and they're, those personalities, again, which personality? We're like, well, I don't really know. And I've got, I did this and that. And at some point I have to give tough love, right? I guess I'm just getting too old. I'm giving tough love. I go, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you, like, fatherly. I'm going to give you fatherly advice right now. I think your skill sets are really, really good. I think you actually have a chance. Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. If you don't give a shit about you, I don't either. I don't. Right. My job is not to drag you across the finish line. If you give a shit about you and you advocate for you, I will cheerlead and help you all you can. But you've got to care first. You've got to care more than anybody else in this whole equation on the planet, because you're the only one that's going to wake up that cares about your life. Come on, man. And if you don't care, you're like, well, I don't know if I want to really, then it's like, I'm not helping that. I've got better things to do. I want to advocate for people that want to climb the mountain potentially. But anyways.
Right.
That's absolutely. So Todd, I have 2 really important questions now that I've heard that you were a baseball player. So what position do you play? Because I'm a baseball player too. So, okay, that's your theme. Okay, that's your thing, the Blue Jays. And so what position do you play? What role?
So I got my call. I played Pac-10 baseball for 3 years, right? So I'm not very big. Here's what I had. I was left-handed, just so people don't know baseball. Being left-handed matters. It gives you like a check mark,
first base,
because there's not as many lefties. First base, center field, outfield. So I was outfield because I'm a little skinny guy. So they send you to the outfield real quickly. So I was a left-hander, and I ran like the wind, right? When I was playing, I had multiple scouts. Multiple scouts would tell me that at the time I was playing, the fastest guy in the major leagues was a guy named Willie Wilson. And they clocked me over and over, and they go, you are faster than Willie. So that was it. If you're fast in any sport, speed matters in every sport, because it never goes in a slump, right? All other skills can leave you. If you can run, you're good. So lefty, fast, that was it. It carried me. Everything else was mediocre. All my other skills were mediocre.
Okay, so by the hints that you gave me, I suppose you don't have any home runs under your belt? Have you ever done a home run?
Couple.
Oh, okay. So you were like first or second in line in batting line, right?
No.
Since you were so fast.
So we should probably get back. Here's the problem with being a little skinny guy who doesn't think they're going to hit home runs. The 2 times that I did, I didn't know that I hit homers, because I hit it and I went triple, and the fast guy. And one time of those 2, one time I actually thought it was a triple, and I ran as fast as I could, and I slid into third. And the umpire came up to me and went, "Kid, get up."
It's the same. You wouldn't believe it, but it's the same exact thing that happened to me. I was like second, usually third, because I was fast, but it wouldn't, I wasn't powerful. So the only home run that I got in my career, I just realized when I was on third base because I saw my friends like coming out of the dugout to, congratulate me, because that's what you do when your teammate hits a home run. Everybody comes out of the dugout to give you a high five. So I realized only that then. So I had to run the whole first three bases.
Yeah.
So,
But
congratulations on your home runs.
Matteo is just lying through his teeth right now. He's copying your story.
I was literally about
this
to
is
ask
exactly
Todd
what happened.
I was about to ask Todd, does any of that sound convincing at all when he was stuttering through that entire fucking lie? Right?
I mean, he started off by saying, "You're not going to believe this," and I was like, "You're right."
And I'm like, 0%. We've been doing this podcast for a couple of years now.
And following Todd's example, I don't give a shit because that's what I did. And that's what makes me happy when I remember about my home run. So fuck you guys. Not you, Todd. Just the other two.
Right? I appreciate the attitude. So that's good. Look, here's the thing: we got creative people on the screen here, right? And you guys have the same thing. People come up to you and ask you how you break in. I would argue that we all have sort of our unique story, don't we? Right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
There's no
one
way to get in. Like I'm constantly telling people, well, I'll tell you how I broke in, but you should go talk to about 20 other people and get as much information as you can, because I think there's a lot of paths to get there. Right? There isn't one.
Yeah.
So
Right.
But I think it goes back, and this is representative of close to 90, if not all of it, as far as people breaking in. The stories are different, but the mechanism that they engage is all pretty much the same, which is that level of tenacity, and I cannot say no. Right? There's very few people who accidentally broke in. Even those ones that say they accidentally broke in, I don't believe them. I believe them as much as I believe Matteo's baseball story.
Yeah, my baseball skills. Yeah, I
don't believe that you. I don't believe that you accidentally broke in, because the industry is built to deny people access. Right? Yeah. It's through that tenacity that allows them to go like, "Oh, you're exceptional." Right. There is a level of you beyond, to your point, Todd. Like, you don't necessarily have to be the top end artist that's going to change and revolutionize the comic book industry. That's not what they're looking for. The tenacious guy who's going to deliver a good enough amount of work, who delivers it on time, and then potentially can elevate the title as they go along. Those are the guys that come in, and that doesn't come accidentally. That comes with like a certain level of purpose and tenacity.
Eric, it's not our industry. That's just business writ large. Right? There is no leading company that's going to sit there and say, we're the industry leader. Oh, here's another company that's coming along that may be building a better product, that's doing a better job of it. And they're going to graciously say, oh, you know what? Here, let me get out of the way so you can pass me. This isn't how it works. They will deny you. They will stop you. They will do everything. Yeah. I've said before, as an old man, I think the single greatest enemy that you will face is status quo, which is this is what happened yesterday. Yep. I think you can learn, and you can use examples and whatever else. But yesterday should just be about grabbing the good of it and trying to always constantly improve. And weirdly, there's only real two sort of 100%ers, I think, in life. One is we're going to all die. We're on the same race to that one, and we're all going to get there. And two is change. It has been a constant since the dawn of man, and yet thousands and not millions of years later, with man on the planet, we are still trying to hold on to, like yesterday, this is how we do it at this company. This is why we've been doing it this way. And then what ends up happening is a little guy named Steve Jobs and a couple other people in a garage come up with another little way and somehow figure out how to maneuver around giants, because they just went, well, they're gonna sit. IBM is going to sit on status quo, and somebody else is going to come along and do something else, and they don't even know. Look, I've said before, there's only, who's going to take down Walmart and who's going to take down Amazon? Walmart and Amazon themselves. Their own hubris will take them down someday. Not anybody else's model, because they're so big. It's just that they are so right that somebody else will come up with another way of doing it, and there will be then a shift, right? If you look at like just Google, who was in the Dow? Because the Dow on the stock market has all these big giant companies. Who was in the Dow in 1969? Just it's like, and then not only ask, are they still in the Dow? Ask even a bigger question: does that company exist? Not like exist. You think TWA executives, Pan Am executives, you think there was one day that you could have walked into their offices and they said what we were doing was wrong? It will never happen. You will never walk into any business meeting and the people will say, we're not doing it right. They're always right. That's the opportunity because they get delusional and they get blinded by their own success at times. Cool.
I think it's this. I had a similar conversation with a buddy of mine just as recently as yesterday. Like a company typically does not have enough of their peripherals opened up so they understand where they are in the life cycle of that company or that endeavor. So the beginning part of the company is always the part that I'm super excited by is that building phase, right? Where you're looking at it going like everything is wide open. Everything is up for debate. Everything we can build the rocket ship to where we need it to go, right? And as soon as that success hit, and that's the really insidious part is because sometimes you don't know that you're already past that building stage. That's super exciting. We're building things from the ground up stage. You're now in that maintenance stage. That's when the blinders come back on because you're using pre-existing versions of success, how you got there, what you've built so far.
So here's what I found. Here's what, Eric, what I found when I've been in these meetings is that status quo is, and I completely understand it. I completely get it. So I'm not here to be
100%.
Because I might do it myself. They are a $2 billion company. And if I made $2 billion, I actually might fall into that trap a little bit of trying to do the maintenance and keeping it myself. What people on the outside do when I walk into those meetings, because they're going, well, their thought is always the glass is half full, which is what if it doesn't work, right? People on the outside come in and say, I know you're protecting your $2 billion, but we think we have ideas that might make your company be $4 billion. Right. But again, they used to have that mindset of growth all the time. But now it's like, man, I don't know. You get that fear factor of, but if it doesn't work, then we make less than 2. And so they stop innovating. And then what happens on the peripheral, somebody starts to innovate. And all of a sudden it goes a little bit past the old guard.
Here's the component that messes up that entire strategy when you're in that maintenance space is because you're convincing your culture, whether it be just a culture of one or a culture of people, is that you're saying we're still in the innovative space. You're not. You're in the maintenance phase, right? And just as quickly as it came, suddenly you're in that destruction area. You're in that downhill phase now, right? Because you're not paying attention to what got you there. But to me, that's the life cycle of that. Just if I'm involved in it, I often like to ask, where are we in your developmental phase as far as your company and your property is concerned? And when they tell me something and my understanding of what they're building isn't aligned, I get as far away from that culture as possible because what you're trying to convince me of.
I'll give you a big example that I lived through.
Yeah, man.
I sell toys, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going to the big boys, right? The Toys R Us and the Walmarts and Kmart at that point. And again, Kmart used to be the biggest. They don't, where's Kmart? Toys R Us used to be the biggest toy company. Where are they? So again, back to my example. But at that point, it was Toys R Us and Kmart, Walmart, Target, and at all those big box stores, right? And there's this thing off to the side called Amazon. Right. And I was dealing with Amazon and I was going to these big box people going, guys, the internet is going to matter. And they were going, yeah. And they were like, and you could see they took way too long to get their act together because they were literally at times saying, we'll buy 20,000 of that line of toys you have for our stores and we'll take 200 for our internet. I went, what?
Right.
Like, dude, I understand that the internet is growing and it's going to continue to grow, but you can't be that far off because here's what I'm selling to these big internet companies. This one called Amazon, this is a tsunami, right? And they're like, but by the time they woke up to it, and they all do it, all those big companies now they all have their internet, but they gave Amazon the lead. And once you get the lead or you get first to market in a big way, that matters, right?
Yep.
There are other auction houses, but eBay is the go-to place. So it's, yes, you have it, but people will just by default, my wife will just go to Amazon.com because it's just a reflex. It's just a reflex.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it was even the biggest companies. I just named some of the biggest retail companies were still, I would say, almost 2.5 to 3 years late getting in that game in any meaningful way. From my perspective, in my literally firsthand experience for dealing with them over the years. I don't know why. Yeah. Talk to them, right? But anyways.
Well, so you're back in comics again, right? Like not again in the span of like publishing in earnest. I think pretty dang aggressively all the Spawn books. You know,
I've never been on a comic.
But this one is the recent incarnation of it is a juggernaut, right? I'm seeing it all over, and congratulations on that success, by the way. I'm hearing from a bunch of different people how amazing those stories are, those experiences are, and to your point, you're bringing in some really top tier talent. So congratulations on that, man. That's freaking awesome.
Okay,
so knowing you have that.
Let me put a point on that real quickly. So just talk about what the master plan is and how you get talent. I think real quickly.
Yeah.
One is I think I've been super conservative, right? I mean, it took me 30 years all the way up to 2021 before I go, hey, you know what? I'm going to do more than one monthly comic book, right? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
By the time Marvel was in 30 years, they had 100 books, right? I'm going to get to my second. Right. But so we added 3 more books. So now we literally put out a book every week, right? Like Tuesday, Comic Book Tuesday. We did Scorched number 24 yesterday, went to the printer. Cool. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're there. Mm-hmm. So we've got our regular books because, again, I wanted to slowly expand, quote unquote, the Spawn universe, right? And part of it was because there's so many characters now over the 30 years that have been created. Our list, we've created over 1,600, right? I mean, it's a big list.
Wow.
Yeah, they're not all, some of them are lawyers and cops and doctors, but there's 1,600. So I can't cram all those into one book called Spawn. And Spawn was becoming to me like almost like a team book. And I'm like, no, Spawn works best when he's solo and he's a badass. So I wanted, and I've been thinking about the universe literally since day one of Image Comics when we thought we could have a continued one. But finally, I had to go, it's time to shit or get off the pot after issue 301. It's time to do it. Here we go. Yeah. So we did it. So it has to be, I think, meaningful, thought out growth. It can't just be growth for the sake of growth, right? Then when I get on the phone, so if I get on the phone to Shawn or I get on the phone to Mattteo or something, my conversations are pretty repetitive. It goes something like this. Hey, guys, I don't know if you're interested. I do the Spawn stuff. I can give you a sort of a list of a bunch of characters. You don't even have to do Spawn, whatever. I don't know if you have any interest. But if you do, you tell me what it is that you want to do, and let me see if I can reverse engineer. So if you want to do a monthly book, fine. If you only want to write, fine. If you want to do a one-shot, fine. If you want to do a miniseries, fine. If you can only do a page a month, fine. Then that means it's going to take 20 months for me to get the book done. Okay, fine. I'm not here on anybody. I'm saying I think you're skilled. I think you rise to the level that I would be proud to put stuff out there. You tell me what it would take to get you to give me anywhere between 1 and 1 million pages. You set the table. My job is to do it. Right. That's how I ended up getting a bunch of these, Eric, that we announced.
Yeah, dude.
So I just go,
dude, that is.
You guys get excited.
So progressive.
You tell me what excites you. Let me see if I can accommodate it back. So that's it.
Right. And then you build a game plan around that, right? You built a game plan around what that release schedule should look like because you'd set forth the expectation of like, hey, I'm going to build something around these guys and their delivery. And so I'm going to build the quote unquote hype behind it and appropriately. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, I can only release it when it gets done. So again, I don't really have a release schedule for all of them because I'm still waiting for enough pages to come in so that I can do a solicitation and they can come on out. So, in its simplest form, I'll publish them as they sort of get finished with a caveat that I don't want to lump too many things in 1 month. So I may hold off on something here and there. to smooth out the calendar a little bit. So I know I don't want to cannibalize like my own books that are coming out. And I don't want to put an undue burden on the retailers to think that they've got to buy a bunch of number ones and whatever else. So
that's right.
Well, I'll be as methodical as I can about all of it. As we slowly grow this thing out, right? And then we'll just see where it goes.
It's not. I don't know if it's slow, Todd. I think you just literally mentioned, hey, we're in 25 issues worth of this, like, I don't think it's slow, but what it is, what I'm seeing, and this is what I mean by juggernaut, is that, it's consistent, right? And there's plenty of people who are putting out books who've expanded their universe, who've expanded like their ideas, whatever it may be, might not even be a universe that feeds in on itself, but it's coming out so slowly it gets to the point of irrelevant. You're not doing that, right? You have books that are coming out, like you said, weekly. And that's got to take some level of coordination,
Right, but there's no option. I mean, I guess that's the piece. We just
in your head, there's no option. To other people, there's plenty of options. We just move slower. But you said, hey, this needs to be a very specific and strategic line.
Well, here's the no option. If you make a promise to people, you're going to put out a monthly book. You better keep your promise. I mean, it's that simple.
That's right.
If you don't, if you haven't made that promise, then you can be a little more flexible, right? So let me just sort of tell you like an odd conversation I had recently with Eric Stevenson, the publisher Image. We were getting ready to sort of do the solicitations for Spawn 350, right? Now I was having this conversation. I go, Eric, let me just pose a question to you. If you take away, remember we set a world record at 301. A world record.
That's right.
If you ignore the world record, let's just say it didn't happen. I'm going to put 27 years of my life, and we're going to put it to the side. I'm up to 350. I've added 50 more issues. So here's the question.
That's right.
Here's the question, Eric. How many books has Image published that ever got up to 50 issues or more? I just added consecutively. 50. I just added 50 to a world's record. I added 50 to a world record. So how many and other than the founders, because we have like Savage Dragon and Walking Dead and Invincible and a couple of these ones Witchblade, right? We got a couple, but get away the founders and whatever else. We could only come up with 4. I think maybe they've added a 5th, but but the point is,
there's a Deadly Class made it to I think 52.
Mattteo, you're missing the point. We've been around for fucking 30 years.
No, sorry, we're just 5. No, no, absolutely. I was just I'm dumb. You might not know this about me, but they call me the dumb shark for a reason. So that's I was being a dumb shark.
Mattteo, what I'm saying is it shouldn't be that it's only 5.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Yeah.
Here's why, Mattteo.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick on you right now. Right? Is you, like a lot of my peers, have been around to get 50 issues. It's 4.5 years. The question is, how many of you have been around for 4.5 years? Right?
Right.
Lots of us. Okay, how many have been around for 10, 15 years? So I think it's way harder for artists because we generally can do one book. So it gets way more difficult for us. We got all of our eggs in one basket. We're either here or we're there, and it gets tougher. The ones that I understand is the writers who can do 5 books, right? I'm saying in those last 4.5 years, you can continue writing Spider-Man, continue writing Avengers, Batman, and Superman. I'm not taking those away from you. But that 5th book, for the last 4.5 years, you could have had 50 issues. And you chose as a creator not to. And not only that, you've been in this business for 15 years. You could have had 3 titles of 50. And here's why it matters. Right. Here's why it matters. 2 reasons. One, once you get to a certain body of work, people just like the body of work, and that's it. You think there's a single issue of Spawn that's going to make somebody who likes Spawn drop it? No. They either like Spawn or they don't now, right? So my job is to give as high quality as possible. You're not going to go, oh, you know what? I liked it for 351 issues, but that 352nd. No, it's not going to happen.
Sure.
Any more detail than your fans, if you did a page that wasn't very good up to your standards, that they're going to stop liking you. They just either like you or they don't. So that's it. And here's the other piece.
Right.
That's good.
And here's the biggest error. Here's the biggest error that my peers, I think, are making right now is there's a big portion of you out there and you want to get outside the bubble. And the bubble is comic books. And you want to get outside the bubble. And you want to have the success that Todd's had, but even more so the success that Robert Kirkman has had. And you want your idea to get big and big and big and big and big, right? And so what you're doing, what my peers are doing is that they're doing 6 issues and they're selling it into Hollywood and then they're moving on. And let's just play it out. Let's say that thing that you sold does go on TV, is a movie, and becomes the next big giant thing in the world. You know what you get to do as the creator? You get to exploit 6 issues.
That's right.
One trade paperback. Robert Kirkman, when The Walking Dead came out, had over 120 issues, and he could mix and match that all day long. He didn't make his money. I can tell you right now as a fact, he didn't make his money off Hollywood. He made his millions, in some cases, tens of millions, reprinting his books. But if you get the next Walking Dead, if you get the next Walking Dead and you've only got 6 issues, you're fucked. You will have everything Kirkman did minus the money. So that's okay. If you just want the ego, that's fine. But if you got some babies to feed and you want, it's weird that you guys want things that other people have done. You just don't want to repeat the method. And I'm telling you, the method is 50 issues or more. 50 issues or more. That's the method. Do it. Do it. Do
That's
it.
Right. That's right. Here's if I picked up anything from our conversation, right? If I picked up anything from our conversation, it takes a little bit more than just, there's a lot of people on the outside looking in at other people's versions of success, but not understanding the mechanism behind it. They just see the end product and they leap into conclusions of how they got there. You're using Robert Kirkman as an example. Hey, as long as I come up with a Walking Dead type title and I can sell it, that's how I know I can start paving my driveway with gold. That's not how things work, right? There's 20 more questions that you should be asking, not the least of which, wait a second, where are you making your money from? Did you make it from Hollywood? Yes. Or did you actually make it from, because Hollywood is now feeding into the ecosystem that is your books, that is 100 issues deep? What is that? What is the ideal number that I need to have in print right now so that if and when that does happen, I can start generating the kind of income that Walking Dead does? Nobody goes to that level of specificity because, again, nobody has that business acumen. They don't ever think at that next level. I can't remember what year it was where I read your interview where you got rejected left and right for the kind of toys that you wanted to make. And I often laugh at this because there's that scene in when was it when Thanos pulls out the glove and he goes, fine, I'll fucking do it myself. He doesn't say fucking but you get it, right? I think you did the same exact thing where you got enough people telling you, I can't make the toy that you're asking me to take. And you said, screw it, I'll make it myself, right? But that needed, number one, that took your particular attitude and your personality. But also, I suspect you didn't just jump in there, both feet into the deep end of the pool. You also started asking the right questions. Some people aren't built that way. You wanted to know what good looks like for that level of success. More importantly, you wanted to understand what the limitations were. And then you said, okay, let me build a version of it that works for me.
But Eric, what I'm saying is that there's data out there right now, right? And the data, and again, let's just back up too. Making money shouldn't be the end goal anyways, right? For some people, being able to make enough food to pay the rent, whatever else, that's okay. Everybody shouldn't have to be driven the same way. So again, everybody gets to pick what they want. But I know that there are dozens, if not hundreds of my peers that want the big score, right? That want the big score without going to the gym and doing the hard work so you can get the big muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want the big muscle, but they don't want to put in the hard work. So, but it's not even that they're not doing the hard work. They're putting 50 issues in for Marvel and DC. This is the piece. I'm going, you did do 50 issues. You just didn't do them for yourself. Right. But so again, if I was up on stage, I'd be asking the question, how many of you out here sitting here have made millions and millions and millions in Hollywood? I don't think I'd see any hands up. Really? Right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
How many of you have made millions and millions? Let's go 5 million, 10 million working for Marvel and DC. I still don't think I would see any hands up.
That's right.
And then if I said, is there anybody else in this room that's made $10 million not doing those three things? You would see a couple hands go up. Robert's hand would go up. My hand would go up. And it's like, what did we do? There was a bit of a consistency. We grinded out the books and we did stuff for ourselves. And it paid eventually. I'm not saying if you do it for yourself, it's going to pay off. But I'm saying it will never pay off for yourself if you don't do anything for yourself to begin with.
That's it.
Absolutely.
That's
it.
It's the Wayne Gretzky.
You're not.
You will never sure a goal if you never take a shot. It's that. It's that.
That's right.
Piece.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess my frustration comes is that I wish I and Robert Kirkman, there was 50 of us that could basically give and be the ministers of this being your own advocate to, and there, because we need more and more voices to say it's doable. It's doable. It's doable.
Yes. Yeah.
And what we get is, and this is the frustrating, is we get people going, well, you lived in a different time and era, Todd. So now all of a sudden that's an excuse. And then it's like, well, what about Robert Kirkman? Well, Robert Kirkman, oh no, that's an excuse. And then it's like, well, Robert, what about Brian K. Vaughan? Well, that is, well, what about James Tynan? I mean, I can give you these little examples along the way. They're not all equal, but they're pretty good examples. And people just keep poo-pooing it, and that's the personality. We keep coming back to the same thing. It's the personality. Right. I go up on stage sometimes, and I literally walk from side to side on the stage, and I give the speech of what I'm just giving right now. Everybody should do this. Everybody should do this. And I give the data. And then I walk to the other side of the stage and I go, I'm going to put on another hat. I'm going to be a CEO and I'm going to give you another message. I hope the fuck you don't. And here's why. Because I don't want to compete with you. Make my job easy. Right. Make me that seventh best artist that gets the job by not raising your hand. Do me a favor.
That's right.
Don't raise your hand. Don't make the effort, because this guy over here doesn't want to be in a race with 200 people. Make it easy and make it only 5, right? The worst that happens, I'm 5th. Right. I'm 5th place on that race if I come in dead last. 200, I could be 197 on, right?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I'd listen to this guy over here. The guy that was talking to you earlier, he's just going, try it. You can always go back to status quo. That status quo will always be, there will always be a Marvel, there will always be a DC, they will always take you. What do you think? Marvel will take me back tomorrow, right? So, good.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway,
all right, dude. We're at an hour, man. This is great.
By the way, now I'm really
so
mad
much, Todd.
because Black Science made it to issue number 43. So I'm just fucking 7 short. Fuck. No, but by the way,
43 is still 40. I'm using 50 as an arbitrary.
Yeah, no, I know. I was just kidding. But I remember the conversation. Yeah, sorry. I remember just a quick thing. I remember the conversation that I had with Rick Remender when we started doing Black Science. He already had the math done for more or less what you were saying. And he was like, we gotta make it through at least 7/8 TPBs, and then from then on they'll feed into each other. So when the 7 TPB comes out, it will feed into number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So the more we do from that point on, it'll become a self-feeding machine basically. And it's more or less what you were saying. Once you got that number down, things, I remember when Black Science ended, for a couple of years, we still seeing money, but for 2 years, we were seeing money like we were still working on it, and we had finished the work like 2 years prior to that. So it was incredible when it happened. So this is a message that it's very important.
I use, Mattteo, the generic of 50 because it gets you to what we call compendium now in our industry, right? The big fat phone book.
Yeah.
Because then you can go, to me, that's like sort of the peak of like, oh, fun. Look at that. I got a big fat book.
Yeah.
And then you can always cut the fat book into 24 issues and 12 issues and however you want to do it, hardcover, softcover. You can do all of that, right? But so then you go, man, and I got to tell you, and you can ask Robert Kirkman, because like those compendiums sell. They sell.
Oh yeah, I know. We just printed ours, and it's almost sold out already.
Right. It's like it is pennies from heaven. And so even if you get to 100, you go, man, I can get 2, right? So I'm a couple months away. I got 7 compendiums, right? I can do. I can do it. And my peers who've been in the business for 10, 15 years, I go, you haven't even gotten to 1. Like, come on, like, do yourself a favor. You're not doing yourselves any favor. We're all going to get old, and we're all not going to want to put in the manual labor all the time and whatever else. So do yourself a favor and create a system where you get what I call mailbox money, which is you just get up and you go and you don't have to do any work because the work's already been done. It's like royalties. And you go to the mailbox and there's a check there and you got money. Cool. And you didn't have to do anything because you're 85 years old or 75. You don't want to work as hard. You want to go out and travel and see the world and do whatever else, right? It's okay. Life gets in the way. Plan for life. It's coming. It's here every day.
Yeah. Dude, Todd, thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate it, dude. We would have been over 3 minutes ago, but Mattteo wouldn't shut up about how much money he was making off of black science. It's really freaking annoying.
I need my moment. It's got to be at least 1 minute per podcast, but I need to say how much money I make.
So I'm going to end on this then, Eric. Better that Mattteo made money on Matteo's work than anybody else. God bless them.
For sure.
Like that's my advocacy. Like, get people out of the way. Like, you should be prospering yourself. Stop letting everybody 100%. Else prosper. Prosper yourself. Come on. So Mattteo should be benefiting from Matteo's work. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. All right, you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
I'm going to hit stop.
It was a pleasure.
This is the Inkpulp Podcast. This is the Inkpulp Podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.